In this next section, we'll dive into the Leadership Scholarship. First, I'd like to start with the essay prompt. So I'll read it first and then describe some of the main points to consider when using this essay prompt to guide your essay writing. So the essay reads, in an essay, please describe the activity or project you propose to undertake and how this experience will challenge you and allow you to grow as a leader. Include a discussion of why this initiative matters to you, what you expect to distinctively contribute, and your goals for developing your leadership potential. What do you need to learn about leadership and about being a leader yourself? Consider how your mentor in the context of your project will provide the support you will need to meet your learning goals. Lastly, briefly address the potential impact of the scholarship on your engagement with your leadership project and your longer-term educational path and career goals. So as you can see, this is a pretty dense paragraph and guidance for the essay writing. So let's pick some of those parts out to kind of understand what it's really asking. The first thing is to explain your activity, right? So that first line, please describe the activity or project you propose. And this is really asking you to be descriptive in what you want to do. It's really important to highlight kind of the progress that you'd want to see, maybe some of the milestones that you want to hit along your project. And basically, it's encouraging you to be very descriptive in terms of what you will be doing during the quarters of award with this project. Also, there's an important element to consider, which is how this will challenge you. So maybe it's important to highlight what you've done in the past and how this is that next step you're wanting to take, how this is going to propel you forward in growing those leadership skills. Then in the next sentence, we are asked to describe why this initiative matters to you, right? So it's important to consider maybe what's the backstory behind your project. Is it maybe something that you've been passionate about since you were in high school? Is there something that you experienced during your time in college that really drove you to this project? So what really sparked that interest in the topic or project that you're undertaking? Next is asking what you expect to distinctively contribute. And this is really important when you are part of maybe a larger team or maybe your project has a lot of group members. So this wants you to highlight what specific contributions are you making to that project. Of course, it's important to include the context of your project and what your team is doing as a whole, but it's really important to highlight yourself out of the group and share what you're specifically going to be contributing. Then on the next section, it's asking you to respond to the question of what you need to learn about leadership or about being a leader. And this is where you can kind of set some of those more broad goals of leadership. So what is maybe something you're still working on when it comes to your leadership skills? Is it being able to maybe manage a larger team? Is it being able to maybe initiate more projects on your own or be more outspoken with your ideas? So what specifically, when it comes to leadership skills, are you trying to develop more? The next component is asking about the context of your project and the support you will need to meet your learning goals. So this is kind of asking you to share the relationship you hope to have with your mentor, maybe some of the specific support you would want them to have. Is it maybe just weekly check-ins is what you need? Maybe for you is letting the mentor give you a little bit more space to develop your leadership skills and then just check once a month. Those kinds of things that are really important to consider when it comes to the relationship that you want to have with your mentor and the level of support that you'll need. And then the last part that's highlighted in bold is really important. The first part asks you to address the potential impact of the scholarship on your ability to engage in this project. And this is really asking you to explain what your financial need is. How is receiving this award of up to $5,000 going to do for you, right? Is it going to maybe allow you to spend less time at work and be able to dedicate it instead to your leadership project? Maybe it's going to help you with paying for tuition and remove some of those barriers, right? That stress that maybe would prevent you from engaging in your project. So what can this money do for you? What's that impact? And then that second part is asking you to highlight your longer term educational path and career goals. So by taking part in this project, how is that pushing you towards that career that you'd want in the future? Maybe is this going to give you an introduction to the field you'd want to participate in? For example, if maybe you're interested in law school or maybe being a social worker, and engaging in this project specifically gives you some exposure to that field or to work with people in that field, that would definitely be a valid argument, right, as to how this will propel you towards those educational and career goals. So be sure to draw that connection from this project to what you want to do in the future. Now, when a reviewer is rating your essay, this is the main evaluation criteria. And so I'll kind of go point by point and share some of those things to consider. The first is motivation of the applicant. So as you're addressing all of those points that we mentioned in the previous slide, it's important to highlight what you've done in the past that really prepares you to be successful. So for example, if this is a project that surrounds a specific topic, like we were saying in the previous slide, related to the law, or it may be immigration, things like that. What courses have you taken that are relevant to that? Or have you volunteered somewhere else that maybe had similar goals or kind of dealt with a similar field? And potential for success. So here's how your mentor will kind of step in, and they will address maybe how they've seen you in the past be really prepared or have some skills that really would set you on a good foot to be successful in this project. It's kind of their evaluation of your potential for success. Next is the project context. So the goals, of course, you need to have some goals for your project. What do you ultimately want to do at the end of your time with the project? Who are you going to collaborate with? Who are those important people that will help you be successful? And the method. So really delineate what will you be doing throughout the quarter, right? Maybe some milestones that you want to hit. And then the next component is leadership. So just define leadership for yourself. What does that mean to you? Describe yourself as a leader. So what does your leadership style look like? What are your experiences being a leader? And kind of a reflection of your own time in spaces where you've been called to be a leader. The next point is on reflection, growth, and impact. So like we were saying towards the end of the last paragraph in the essay prompt, what is this going to contribute to your learning, right? How is this going to give you skills that you can use later on? And the educational impact and activity on scholarship. So again, highlighting the need for, or not necessarily the need for the money, but what impact the money can have for you. And then after all of the essays are reviewed, we will also have the opportunity to provide you with an interview if you are selected. Not all applicants will get an interview, but people will basically move to a second round of review after they submit their applications and will be invited to an interview. Afterwards, the decisions will be made on who will be awarded for the leadership scholarship. If you have any questions, once again, feel free to email us or attend any of our workshops to strengthen your leadership application.